Be sure to follow us on Instagram at CriminalAFPod or click on the link in the episode description. Today we look into cases that have eluded authorities and may never be put to rest, ranging from serial killers to rapists. Do you have information in defining these demented monsters? Find out in this episode of Unsolved. I'm Dave Jari.
I'm Garrett Corder.
And this is Criminal as Fuck. What's good, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Criminal AF. Once again, I am Dave Jari, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Garrett Corder.
How are we doing?
Now, I just have to give a shout-out where a shout-out is due. Fucking Australia.
We're killing it.
Like, Australia is unbelievable.
Love you guys.
The top city that has downloaded our episodes is Melbourne. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I caught slack for this last time. It's Melbourne.
Yeah.
Okay. So the top city that has downloaded our episodes is Melbourne.
That Catherine Knight episode, man.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
We got to show some love to more. We got to deep dive on Australia a little bit more.
I know. You know, that's just amazing. So, like, I was looking at it the other day, and our top 5 is Melbourne, Dallas, Texas, Calgary, Alberta, Adelaide, South Australia, and Sydney, New South Wales. 3 cities in Australia out of the top 5.
Wow.
That just fucking blows
Love
my
you
mind.
guys. Love you guys.
Hey, Australia, shout out. Love you guys. But, you know, as always, you do realize that this is a true crime podcast.
Yeah.
So, there will be talk of murder, rape, torture, arson, and pretty much any crime that would haunt your nightmares at any given moment. There will be detailed descriptions of said events, and there will be vulgar language. Like,
fuck.
Yes, there will be the use of the word fuck. So we understand that Criminal AF is not for everyone, but we just ask that you at least give it a listen. And if it's not for you, hey, thanks for checking it out. But if it is, welcome to the debauchery. Let's go to Florida.
You want to go to Florida, boy? All right, so we actually have 2 for you guys today.
Woo.
First off, Fort Myers, Florida.
Yeah, Fort Myers. Okay, let's go to Fort Myers.
Man clad only in underwear arrested for throwing cinder blocks at...
Okay.
Man clad only in underwear arrested for throwing cinder blocks at deputies from the roof of a Fort Myers restaurant. Oh, we're definitely going to include his mugshot in here because this guy... All right. Jesus Medina, 24, is facing charges after he was arrested for throwing cinder blocks towards deputies from the roof of La Mexicana restaurant off Ortiz Ave around noon.
It's giving a bad name to Mexican restaurants.
Yes. Deputies said the man was on the roof wearing nothing but his underwear while yelling and acting erratically, even causing $10,000 in damage to the restaurant's sign.
Oh. Now, is it like whitey tighties, or is it like a banana hammock?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't have pictures. There's a picture of the roof sign that is completely mangled and hanging off. We'll include pictures for you guys. Deputies said the man was on the roof. According to LCSO, officials used less than lethal force to get the man off the roof and place him under arrest.
They tased him.
But how?
Imagine that shit sitting in your skivvies.
Boom.
Right just like. I wonder if he shit himself.
Oh, and then they had to put him in the car with a shit whitey tighties.
Yes.
I mean, crackheads do usually wear whitey tighties though, so it probably wasn't black. I want to know, like, the fact that they used less than lethal. Because if I'm a deputy, right? People just start chucking cinder blocks off the roof at you, like, They're probably, but then again, if he was crazy, they're like, all right, Ortiz, come on down.
Yeah, all right, but
Come
okay.
on, bud. This is over.
Yeah,
this is over.
You had your fun. All right.
God, I wish there were. I want dash cam footage of that.
I know,
because I want to know how they got him off the roof.
I want to like see this guy in his underwear. Like I want to know what kind of he's rocking. And then after he got tased, I want to know if he fucking pissed and shit himself.
Big old dick root. As much as being a cop, like a cop sounds so dick root. You don't know what dick root is? Dick root is the V that connects.
Oh, I don't know.
We can't put that in there.
I wear boxers, so I don't know.
Okay. It's the dick root. It's the the V thing that guy's got going on. Yeah, but looking at this guy's mugshot, I don't think it's anything impressive. All right, I want to hear yours.
Okay. All right, here we go.
All right.
Florida man has sex with his pit bull.
Oh.
As neighbors beg him to stop.
There's no way.
I got it right here. All right.
Bestiality, dude. We were out of that. We didn't have that on the list. You didn't say that in the beginning. Fucking Christ.
There will be bestiality. Wednesday morning, a Florida man apparently decided, what the hell? I'm just going to go ahead and bang my dog in my front yard. So in broad morning daylight for all to see, the man dropped his trousers and began having sex with his dog. To the shock of his neighbors, Bernard Marcinick,
so this is real.
57, began having sex with his pit bull right outside in the front yard of his home, located at 8125 North Mark Street in Hillsborough County.
Oh, that guy deserves to have his social out there.
As horrified neighbors begged him to stop. He ignored their calls to stop having sex with his dog in front of the entire neighborhood.
There's so many dog fans out here who are going to be so pissed at this story. I'm not laughing.
Some people who didn't care much for watching a man fuck his own dog on the front yard decided to flag down a police officer passing by, according to the Tampa Tribune. The cops pulled over and were met by several witnesses who told them that they saw Marcinick diddling his pooch and how they pleaded for him to stop. Police were able to get into Marcinick's home where they interviewed him. Hillsborough County Animal Services were also called to the home and arrived with a search warrant. They executed a search of Marcinick's home, where police say they found 8 dogs, as well as a gun and some ammunition. Cops seized a weapon during the search. Animal Services also took custody of Marcinick's 8 pit bulls. He was immediately arrested Wednesday morning and is now facing charges of aggravated animal cruelty and 2 counts of being a felon in possession of a firearm. He's also facing misdemeanor count of sexual activity involving animals.
I would like, oh my god, dude. There's nowhere to even start there.
I know.
Like, him just on the front lawn, like, and everybody sees him. They're like, "Hey, stop!
Yeah,
stop!"
He's just sitting back in his lawn. He's like, damn, that pit bull looking good right now.
8 dogs.
And we have our friend Abe here in the background here, and he's moving to Florida. Good luck, buddy.
Hey, we got some fans in Florida, all right? We're not all you guys are crazy, but you got to stay where those like over 55 communities are. You know what I mean? Stay in that area. Don't start venturing to like, Ocala and all those areas.
Oh man, yeah. So, man, shit's popping off in Florida.
I guess. Nobody's safe.
Nope.
Not even pit bulls.
The dog was like,
and listen, dog lovers out there who are listening, I'm so sorry. I wasn't laughing.
We don't condone having sex with your dog. However, this dude is just funny. Like, who the fuck does that? Just sitting in his front yard, staring at his dog and being like, you know what?
Oh, you got a pretty mouth? What is it? Snout?
You sure got a pretty snout.
You got a pretty snout.
Like, who the fuck does that? Anyway, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, we want to try something new, and it's a segment that we'll call Triple Dog Dare. Now, we'll do it live here today, but in the future, we'll add it to our bonus content for criminals who select the Ramirez tier and above. So basically, Triple Dog Dare is reminiscent of our younger days when someone would triple dog dare you to do something. And you couldn't refuse, or you would be the biggest bitch on the playground.
Oh, so I'd be a bitch if I refused.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair
so
enough.
what we'll do is Garrett and I will have chosen random tasks for each other, and it's something that we absolutely cannot refuse to do. We have to do it. So what does this have to do with true crime? Absolutely fucking nothing.
Nothing at all.
No. Nothing at all.
We just like messing with each other.
Yeah. But, you know, we try to have a little bit of fun, you know, while we're discussing these fucked up trash bags.
Yeah. Right.
You know? I mean,
you got to have some light in the
I know.
in
Otherwise,
darkness.
we'd become depressed. And I don't think you guys want that to happen. Without further ado, Garrett, I sent you an email. Can you open that email, please?
If I'm eating something or...
What do you see?
Lyrics?
Lyrics to a song?
Yeah.
All right, here's a little premise to what's going to happen here. So, a couple years ago, HBO came out with...
Wait.
HBO came out with a documentary, a little mini-series on Chernobyl. And one of our friends, David Mercurio, and I were just sitting around one day, and we were like discussing Chernobyl, and we're like, wouldn't it be funny if there was like a strip club in Chernobyl? You know? So then we made a song. It took us like 20 minutes. David, who's a genius at music, made all the music, and we just threw down some random freaking lines and made a song called Chernobyl Strip Club.
Oh yeah, this. I heard the beat to this because I remember
Yes.
you guys were like messing around with it at work.
Yep. So what Garrett needs to do is he needs to rap along to 2 verses of Chernobyl Strip Club.
That's the name of the title?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, let's do it.
All right. To make it easier for you, I got some music to play along.
Okay,
So
go.
you just rapping along with the music. Okay.
All right.
All right. There's a little intro. Yeah. What? Okay, go.
Went to the club with two friends. Got through the door with just 2 tens. A girl came up and got between us. She had 3 tits and a micro penis. Or for whatever you call it. I took out my ones because I'll be all for it. Strippers everywhere. We're about to ball out. I like that smack with the nuclear fallout. I like freaky and leaky and totally obscene. I'd get full of toast whenever I'm yelling Wolverines. I got 2 girls with 1 eye, 3 digits. It would be a perfect night if we only had a midget.
Hold on. All right, ready? Second verse. Here we go. Go.
You can call us brave. You can call us noble for going over to the strip club in Chernobyl. But I'm too honest, I'm never playing with the money back. Because I saw the dancers growing a nut sack. She told me not to worry, it was aesthetic.
Hey.
With a prosthetic.
Hey.
She told me it was exotic. The nuts, so I ignore it as rang. What? You guys? And if the funny part about this is both of these 2 individuals, including me, work at a nuclear power plant too. So. What?
That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad for
that was good.
for a cold.
I didn't even hear that. If you give me 2 more times, I'm telling you, I'm killing you.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. I like it.
Well, my.
All right, good.
I like the song, by the way. You guys,
Oh, thank
you guys
you.
have a little too much time on your hands. But
Yeah.
I like this song.
We just threw that together in 15, 20 minutes. You know.
All right, so mine is more of a traditional double, triple dog dare.
Okay.
Actually, you know what I like? I like Dare on Air.
Dare on air.
The name of this segment.
All right, yeah, I like that.
Mine's a little bit more traditional.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
are going to take a full shot of Worcestershire sauce.
Okay.
Do you like Worcestershire sauce?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wait, how do you pronounce it?
Worcestershire.
Do you say it like that, or are you just saying it because I'm saying it?
What? Say it again.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've heard
Worcestershire.
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 Yeah, Worcestershire. I've heard people say some crazy shit. All right. We have our trusty Worcestershire.
Worcester.
Worcestershire sauce. Oh,
Affidavit.
Affidavit.
Oh, that looks yummy. That's what you're giving me?
You want more? Okay, I thought
you were giving me a full shot.
Oh, that was a full shot, 100%. But I'll.
Oh, that is a lot.
Yeah, it sounds easy.
Oh.
Oh.
All right, here we go.
Oh. I can smell it from here.
Through the mouth, down the hatch. Hopefully tonight, I get some snatch.
Don't throw up. Don't throw up.
Oh my god, it burns.
Oh
my god, it burns. Oh, that's not good.
No, it's not.
It feels like I have the worst fucking heartburn I've ever had in my life.
When you have a splash on some food.
Oh shit.
Don't die at me. Don't die at me. I'm proud of you. You took that like a champ.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would have probably puked. You good? Get yourself some coffee. Actually, coffee and Worcestershire sauce does not mix. I'm proud of you.
Oh my god.
You took like that like an absolute champ.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, that burn going down. Oh. Well, that was interesting.
I do like the rap though. You guys, you might have something there.
Oh man. All right. So enough of these shenanigans. We'll get into the first chapter of this episode of Unsolved with New Bedford Highway Killer. Weld Square, a section of New Bedford, Massachusetts, which in 1989 consisted of rundown buildings, storefronts, and 3-deckers, was plagued with a drug epidemic. Not all the people who lived and worked in this area were on the wrong side of the law, but there was an influx of people that sold heroin and cocaine, and the people that used them, right out in the open, in the daylight without a care, police rarely passing through. This area was also a haven for prostitution, and one by one, women were disappearing. There was a serial killer on the loose. You wouldn't know it by walking the area along Purchase Street. The dealers were still dealing, the buyers were still buying, and the prostitutes were still flipping tricks. In May of 1988, Deborah Medeiros of Fall River, Mass. left the home she shared with her mother to go to her boyfriend's house in New Bedford. They had planned to go on a cruise that month, but on May 27th, Deborah's boyfriend called her mother asking if she had seen Deborah. They had gotten into an argument, and she stormed off. Deborah, known to frequent Weld Square, had battled a drug addiction for years. It's believed that she went to Weld Square following the argument and disappeared. Nancy Paiva was last seen walking down the street, appearing to be crying. She and her boyfriend, Frank Pena, were in a Whispers Pub, a notorious bar known for its drug trafficking operations and hangout for prostitutes. Nancy and Frankie got into a heated argument, and Frankie forced her to leave the pub, never to be seen again. 2 days later, Frankie reported Nancy missing. The police knew Frankie very well from previous run-ins, and the last time they had to deal with Frankie, he was with another woman, Rochelle Clifford, and she too had gone missing not long after. In July of 1988, Mary Rose Santos was dropped off at a bar called Quarter Deck Lounge by her husband. It's believed that Mary Rose left the bar to visit a friend who lived nearby and vanished. On July 2nd, 1988, the remains of a decomposing body was found by a woman who stopped to use the bathroom along Route 140 in Freetown. The partially naked body was that of Deborah Medeiros, the first of 9 women to be found along I-195, Route 140, and Route 88 in the surrounding towns of Freeport and Dartmouth. 2 more had gone missing from New Bedford during this time, but have never been found. All of the women were known to have had a history with prostitution or drugs, and all of them had a connection to Whispers Pub, Quarter Deck Lounge, and Weld Square. 2 men topped a list of potential suspects, but were either cleared or never convicted. None of the murders have been solved. So there were 2 men at the top of the suspect list. Their names were Ken Ponte and Anthony DeGrazia. Now, Ponte was a lawyer with a history of drugs who had allegedly dated one of the women and represented 3 other victims prior to their death.
That's a lot of coincidences just falling in place there.
Yeah, right off the bat.
Yeah. First off, what lawyer do you know that does drugs with his prostitutes that he's representing? That's kind of wild.
I mean, if you live in New Bedford, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, he was like a shady character. He had a severe drug addiction of his own. And it's actually was stated that the reason he got into law is because he got sick and tired of paying all of his attorneys. So he's like, I was going to get my fucking own.
He's a career criminal.
Yeah.
A career scumbag.
Yeah.
I mean, to even become a lawyer is a pretty scummy move.
He's like, I can represent myself. Fuck it.
To pass the bar is passing the bar. He was smart.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he did it.
Yeah, poor sex work is just a rough gig. It really is.
So the reason, so he came under suspicion because he had a connection with them, and it's believed that he killed at least one of the women, Rochelle Clifford, because she was about to allegedly expose him for his drug use. And he was indicted by a grand jury, but all the charges were dropped because of a lack of evidence. And he actually ended up dying in 2010. Now, the second guy, Anthony DeGrazia, this one shoots the censors. He was known by all the locals in Weld Square as Flatnose because his, I guess, a predated injury, like crushed his nose down.
So he's a stonemason. Yeah. Probably.
Right. And he also had like an alcohol dependency and a temper. So he would just like switch.
If the prostitutes label you a nickname, that's not a good, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So he was arrested in 1989 for 18 counts of rape and assault against prostitutes. You know, due to his high bail, he was forced to stay in prison for a year. His lawyer basically fought for a lower bail, so he was released a year later. And
18 counts. And he was released a year later.
Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
So prior to trial, though, he died.
He was murdered. A brother, a dad, somebody caught up to him. 100%.
Yeah. The initial autopsy report said homicide, but it was later changed to suicide.
Yeah. Sure.
I guess that change came from the district attorney. There's some sketchy stuff with the district attorney, too. I guess he, lost his election because of this, and I don't know. It's just like a whole shit show. But the reason that they're saying suicide is because
the district attorney was probably hanging out with Ken Ponte, too. They were probably smoking 8 balls together.
Yeah, the reason they're saying it's a suicide is because once Ponte was cleared, DeGrazia knew that all the attention was going to turn to him. Yeah. And he's like, forget this. So that's New Bedford highway murders. And next up we have, for our Aussies,
Mr. Cruel.
Mr. Cruel. On the morning of August 22nd, 1987, a man masked with a balaclava broke into a family's home in Melbourne, Victoria's outskirt suburb of Lower Plenty. He forced his way into the house by removing a window pane in their living room. Once inside, he entered the parents' room clutching a knife in one hand and a gun in the other. He made both parents lay on their stomachs, bound their hands and feet, and locked them in a closet. Then he tied their 7-year-old son to a bed and sexually assaulted the 11-year-old daughter for nearly 2 hours. He made himself something to eat, cut the phone lines, and left. After the heinous attack, the police were called, and their investigation began. Police learned that the knot used to subdue the parents and son were sailor knots, used by those with nautical experience. It was over a year before Mr. Cruel struck again. Shortly after Christmas in 1988, the Wills family were fast asleep in their home, a couple of miles southeast of where the previous crime had taken place. Wearing dark blue overalls and a dark balaclava, Mr. Cruel broke into the Wills' home and held a gun to John Wills' head. As before, he clutched a knife in his other hand and told the parents to roll on their stomachs, then bound and gagged them. The intruder told the parents that he was only there for money. But then he methodically cut the phone lines and made his way into the bedroom where the 4 Wills girls were sleeping. Addressing the 10-year-old daughter by name, the man blindfolded and gagged her, then picked up a few items of her clothing and fled the house with her the early next morning. After freeing himself and noticing that the phone lines were cut, the father rushed next door to the neighbor's house to use their phone to call the police. However, Mr. Cruel was long gone, and so was his daughter. 18 hours later, just after midnight, and dressed in a green garbage bag, the 10-year-old girl was found standing on a street corner. She was reunited with her family and gave police some startling clues as to who her attacker could be. Because she was blindfolded throughout her assault, she was unable to give a full physical description of Mr. Cruel. But she did recall how shortly before letting her go, the suspect made sure to give her a bath, clip her finger and toenails, and brushed her teeth. Investigators quickly tied the incident to the one in Lower Plenty, and fear was beginning to take shape in the Melbourne suburbs. Mr. Cruel struck a third time on July 3, 1990, in the suburb of Canterbury, Victoria, which is just west of his second attack and south of his first attack. The parents, Brian and Rosemary, were attending a farewell party and left their two daughters home alone. Just before midnight, the two girls were woken. Standing before them, armed with his usual gun and knife, he instructed the 13-year-old to go into another room to get her school uniform, while he tied up her 15-year-old sister. Mr. Cruel then took off with the 13-year-old in the family's rental car. About 20 minutes after the abduction, Brian and Rosemary returned home, where they found their 15-year-old daughter tied to her bed with a ransom message. A little over 50 hours later, their 13-year-old daughter was dropped off not far from her home. She was fully dressed, wrapped in a blanket, and still blindfolded. When she was confident that Mr. Cruel had driven away, she removed the blindfold and made her way to a nearby house. It was just after 2 in the morning when she phoned home. She was able to offer the investigators some details that were vital to the investigation. The attacker stood about 5 feet 8 inches tall, or about 172 centimeters, had a pot belly, and possibly had reddish-brown hair. Some details of her ordeal were more horrifying. She revealed that throughout her time in captivity, she was forced to lay down in a neck brace contraption fastened to the abductor's bed, restraining her while she was abused. On April 13, 1991, Mr. Cruel broke into a home in the affluent Templestowe district. That night, a 13-year-old was entrusted to watch over her 2 younger siblings. At roughly 8:40 that evening, the 13-year-old and one of her sisters headed to the family's kitchen to make some food, when they were startled by Mr. Cruel in his balaclava and a green-gray tracksuit. "I only want your money," Mr. Cruel stated as he forced the 2 younger siblings into a closet. He pushed the bed in front of the closet to lock the 2 youngest sisters in as he made his escape with the 13-year-old. Minutes later, the 2 frightened sisters managed to push the door open and immediately called their father at the family restaurant. Sadly, the 13-year-old would never be reunited with her family. Nearly 1 year after her abduction, on April 9, 1992, a man walking his dog in the close-by area of Thomastown came upon a fully decomposed skeleton. An autopsy revealed that the 13-year-old had been shot 3 times in the head, execution style, probably not long after her abduction. Mr. Cruel remains one of Australia's most wanted criminals. So Mr. Cruel's original moniker was Mr. Cool to describe the way he committed his crimes. They were well thought out. He was calm during the whole process, and each kidnapping was concise. Like, he knew exactly what he was going to do.
Yep. Throw in little hints to throw off investigators too. Amazing.
Yeah.
This guy was
using a phone.
Super smart.
Yeah. He would use phones in the houses to like make them think like he's talking to somebody else or whatever.
If there was any unsolved story that could become a movie, Mr. Cruel is 100%. Like,
oh yeah.
Like his mugshot or like his sketch from the victims, all that stuff. He looks terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Literally, like the dark blue overalls and a ski mask. That sounds like Michael Myers is coming after you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's terrifying.
Well, that's what I think when I was scrolling through all of these cases. That's one thing that like stood out to me. Like I was like, dude, I was scrolling through, and all of a sudden I saw the freaking sketch, and I'm like, that is absolutely terrifying.
Who is this?
Holy shit.
Yeah, it seems like something out of a nightmare.
Yeah. One of the things that stands out in all of this is that all of the victims, they lived within a 20-minute drive of each other. And there was a witness that had come forward stating that in 1988, a man was seen recording the home of one of the victims 6 weeks prior to their kidnapping. And that home had 2 electrical towers adjacent to its backyard. Okay. Why are the electrical towers important? Because using mapping technology, authorities believe that Mr. Cruel had worked or still works for the electrical industry, because all 4 confirmed victims had either lived near or were found near electrical substations. One of the things that people look for in like a serial killer, serial rapist, or
patterns,
is patterns, and they are comfortable in areas that they're familiar with.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it just stopped. And the reason that people say, usually when crime stopped, they've either been arrested, they're dead, or they moved away. Now, in this case, because of the last victim, she was killed. People are believing that maybe she actually saw who he was or knew who he was, and he killed her and was like, oof, okay, that's maybe a step too far.
Yeah.
I only like diddling little kids. I don't like killing them.
Well, at this point too, he was so good at evading that like it could have been a wake up call for him.
Could have been,
where he was just.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of other cases that are contributed to him prior to the last one. They're saying that maybe possibly up to 12 similar cases are related to Mr. Cruel.
One of the big things that stands out to me too is washing the bodies, clipping fingernails and toenails, brush and floss teeth. This guy knew exactly what he was doing.
Right. Yeah, like when I first started reading this, I thought maybe he had something to do with law enforcement, or he was like forensics or something, like he was familiar with the process. But I don't know. Now the direction's towards the electrical industry, so it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Next up on our list is the Highway of Tears.
That's such a bad name.
It is a bad name. The Highway of Tears murders represent the work of possibly more than one serial killer, with many cases still unsolved. The name derives from a 725-kilometer stretch of Highway 16 between Prince George and Prince Rupert, British Columbia, in Canada, and the tears that the families shed that have lost loved ones along this stretch. Highway 16 traverses remote areas of forest, snaking through logging towns and indigenous reservations. The region is plagued in places by poverty, which means many residents lack reliable transportation. Therefore, hitchhiking remains the only viable way to travel to work or seek medical treatment. The road itself is dark, without the lights and cameras that deter crimes in more populous areas. The area also boasts fertile soil, relatively easy to dig, as well as numerous carnivorous animals to carry away remains. From 1969 to the present, dozens of young women, most of them indigenous, have disappeared or been found murdered near Highway 16. Some people familiar with the case suggest that the total number of victims could be 50 or higher, and nearly all are unsolved. 3 separate serial killers, Brian Arp, Edward Isaac, and Cody Legebikoff, have been charged with various murders in the area, but investigators believe there may still be others at large. Investigation of the Highway of Tears homicides has been dogged by complaints that the cases were not given enough priority or thorough examination. The victims were often young, poor, and indigenous. Government files related to the case have been suspiciously purged in response to attempts to gain more information. In 2005, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP, founded EPANA, the name deriving from E for E Division and PANA, an Inuit goddess who cares for the souls before reincarnation. EPANA focuses on the reinvestigation of the Highway 16 murders, although the investigation expanded to include similar cases not connected to the highways. The RCMP believes that 18 of the murders are directly related to the Highway of Tears cases, while Aboriginal organizations believe that the number could be closer to 40. The majority of the homicides directly related to the Highway of Tears remain unsolved, and detectives are still pursuing these open cases. So the task force, EPANA, has had some successes with investigating the Highway of Tears. You know, they're using DNA technology. They linked a 1974 homicide of 16-year-old Colleen McMillan to that of a deceased American serial killer, Bobby Jack Fowler. And Fowler is also suspected in 2 other killings.
Good start for the amount of murders that have happened on Highway of Tears.
Now, the thing with EPANA, though, that we touched on in the story is that they don't only do the murders that are quote-unquote associated with Highway of Tears. They've included others in the area. Whether this is actually a Highway of Tears, you know.
This one's fascinating because I highly doubt this has been 1 or 2 people have killed on this. Like, serial killers have been the primary killers on throughout this highway, where I think this attracted multiple people.
Oh, it's,
you know, the legend
starts in a
spreading.
Candy store.
Yeah, the legend starts spreading. Then that guy who's always had that, you know, craving starts scoping it out, drives down it. Oh, wow. This would be real easy.
Yeah, this is pretty, I mean, it's a stretch of highway. There's no lights. There's sporadic towns, you know.
And what a horrible nickname for, you know.
It is. It's reminiscent of another horrible era in our history. But there's another guy that they were kind of looking at. It's in 2014. There was a serial rapist by the name of Gary Taylor Handlin, and he was charged with the murder of Monica Jack and 11-year-old Catherine Mary Herbert. Police said that Handlin was a previous suspect, but they didn't have enough evidence. So in December of 2014, they arrested him, and it was attributed in part to advances in forensic science, but they didn't really release all of the details. He was convicted in January of 2019 for first-degree murder of Monica Jack, but this case was predominantly based on his confession.
Yeah, if he didn't confess, they would have never.
Right. I mean, they had some evidence, but not enough to get a conviction. So they used his confession. But like I said earlier, despite these beliefs and connections and whatnot, there have been no charges or convictions regarding the original Highway of Tears victims.
The OG.
The OGs. Hopefully they come up with something to, give these families some closure and some peace.
You would think that forensic scientists wouldn't be intrigued by this, and so many murders just swept on the rug. And how many cold cases is that?
This spans decades. Like I said, hopefully something comes out of it. But we'll go on to the next one, and this is kind of close to home. It's the Long Island serial killer. The Long Island serial killer, also known as Lisk, the Gilgo Beach killer, and the Craigslist killer, murdered between 10 and 16 people over a period of nearly 20 years, although most remains were discovered in 2010 and 2011. Mostly all of the victims were known sex workers who used Craigslist for advertising, but the youngest purported victim was a toddler aged 16 to 24 months, who was believed to have been brought along with her mother, and both were murdered. In some cases, the victims had been missing for many years before their remains were discovered, which has hampered efforts to solve the case. The killer also dismembered the bodies and disposed of the remains throughout various areas along the south shore of Long Island, New York. The first remains discovered have become known as the Gilgo Four, whose torsos were all reportedly found within 500 feet of each other along a stretch near Gilgo Beach in December of 2010. Investigators believe that the killer is a white male familiar with the Long Island region, and they had easy access to burlap sacks, which were used to hold the remains of the victims. The press speculated that known serial killer Joel Rifkin, who had murdered at least 9 women across other areas of New York, might be responsible for these deaths, since he had lived in Long Island for a time. Rifkin has denied any involvement. In an effort to spur new leads, Suffolk County Police Commissioner Geraldine Hart released images of a belt found at one of the crime scenes. The belt features the letters HM or WH embossed in black leather, and it was recovered near Ocean Parkway and Gilgo Beach. Investigators believe that the belt is connected to the perpetrator, not the victims, and they have asked anyone who might have information about the belt to come forward. The investigation into these murders is still ongoing. So in September of 2017, the prosecutor's office announced that John Bittrolf, he was a suspect in the case. Now, he was a carpenter who had access to the type of sacks that were linked to the crimes, and he had recently been convicted of the murders of 2 other female sex workers in the 1990s, and both of them were dismembered, similar to the Lisk cases. But his attorney says he had nothing to do with it. It never really went further than...
At this point, he's spending the rest of his life in jail.
Right. He was convicted. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive terms of 25 years to life. So consecutive, they go right after another.
Yep.
That's 50 years. Could he possibly get out? Who knows? But I don't think he will, but there's the possibility.
Yeah, the parole board
Right.
is going to be like, you know, we reviewed your case. You stamped some license plates.
Yep.
You've just been great. You found God. Just
Yeah, you're good.
You're good.
Enjoy your life.
2010, 2011 too. That's, you know, fairly recent.
Well, 2010, 2011, that's when they were found. Like, this has been going on since the 90s. Like, when these women were found, they weren't found intact. They found torsos, they found arms, they found legs, they found a head, they found, you know, and this is like sporadic over the years. Like, one woman, they found her leg in the early 2000s, late 90s, and then found her torso in 2010.
Oh, so
you know what I mean?
They might be onto something with John.
Right. One of the more disturbing stories that I think that comes out of this is of the woman identified as Peaches, who was found in 2011. Now, she was given this name because of a distinct tattoo of a heart-shaped peach on her left breast. And as we stated in the story, there was also a toddler who was found. Now, DNA results have confirmed that both Peaches and the one they call Baby Doe, the female toddler, are in fact mother and daughter.
Oof.
Now, this is just like, I can't even like wrap my head around it, because they described that Baby Doe was found with gold earrings and a gold necklace, and I'm just like thinking of that day. Peaches gets her daughter ready, you know, come on, honey, you know, we're gonna go meet a friend. You
just made it real.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like,
just
put her earrings in, you know, she's wearing a necklace, get her dressed, you know, okay, come on, we're just gonna go meet a friend real quick, and then they both end up dead. It's just, rips my freaking heart out.
Yeah, you have to be a real psycho to stalk a woman and her child.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. But a little connection to us is that one of the women was actually from Norwich, Connecticut, where we're from.
Yes.
She was discovered in 2010 and was one of the, what they call the Gilgo 4. And these were the first bodies that were discovered along the area of Gilgo Beach. 25-year-old Maureen Brainerd Barnes. She was last heard from in July of 2007. She was a mother of 2 and had given up the sex industry for about 7 months, but picked it up part-time, you know, to pay her bills after she received a eviction notice. She worked at a Super 8 motel in Manhattan, and she called a friend on July 9th of 2007 saying that she was meeting a client she had met on Craigslist.
Back page.
Yep. And all the Gilgo 4, they were found within 500 feet of each other. You know, all buried.
Definitely linked.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Small world.
Yeah.
You know, she's from where? Studio Chloroform.
Yeah.
Trademark pending, by the way.
Yeah, trademark pending. So yeah, that'll do it for Lisk, and we'll move on to a man known as Jack the Stripper. Not Jack the Ripper.
Jack
the Stripper.
I feel like it sounds like a Thunder from Down Under guy.
Yeah. So we'll hear that one next. The Hammersmith Nude Murders were a series of 6 murders in West London, England in 1964 and 1965. Their bodies were found with clothing removed, sometimes stripped so bare that even their false teeth were taken. All the victims were sex workers. All were small of stature, and all showing no signs of struggle. The local press began calling the uncaught killer Jack the Stripper, in homage to Jack the Ripper 75 years earlier. The homage would end up serving as a foreshadow. Like Jack the Ripper, Jack the Stripper's case was never solved. There was hardly any evidence. Despite the victims being stripped, the investigators didn't see signs of rape or sexual assault at the murder scenes. There were patterns to how the women were killed. For example, the killer seemed to use the victim's own clothing to strangle them. Occasionally, a victim would be punched, but none of this evidence helped narrow their search. The investigation caught a small break when the fifth victim, 22-year-old Helen Barthélemy, was found with flecks of paint on her body. Forensic investigators determined that the pigment appeared to come from a spray paint gun used to fix dinged-up cars at auto body repair shops. 2 subsequent victims had the same paint flecks on them, leading investigators to believe that the killer worked in auto repair. Another tip came in on the killer's vehicle. On July 14, 1964, at around 2:30 a.m., 2 men painting a restaurant interior saw a suspicious figure in a gray van. After they called out to him, the man, startled, drove off. A few hours later, the body of Mary Fleming was found in a cul-de-sac, a 10-minute drive away. Police began scanning the roadways for gray vans, but the clue never led anywhere. Investigators once again found themselves at a dead end. With the killer most likely dead and no forensic evidence found at the scenes, it's likely that these murders will remain forever cold. So there was a man that was named Harold Jones who had killed 2 young girls at the age of 15, which sent him to prison. He never showed remorse for these murders, but he was released during World War II to be placed in the armed services.
Cannon fodder.
Yeah. There were some other details that made him a prime suspect. He was an auto body mechanic, which he had links to the industrial area where the bodies were found. But ultimately, we'll never know, because in 1971, he died.
If you were transporting bodies around in your van as an auto mechanic, especially an auto body mechanic, 100%, there's paint, there's dust, everything. That's a big clue right there.
Yep.
On top of it, too, is what was going on. I mean, I know we needed people in World War II, but to just let a convicted killer just, let's just let him go. Like, that's the worst place to send a guy like that.
Put him on the front. Well, at least he knows he's not afraid to kill.
Yeah. But it's when it's all the downtime hanging out in little European cottages and stuff with other people around.
So he died of bone cancer in 1971, and there was never any DNA collected from the scene. So he does have children and whatever, but they don't have anything to compare to.
This was way before DNA analyzed.
They're like, what's that stuff? Oh, is that sperm? Wipe it off. Get rid of it. That's gross.
Yeah, where's the hazmat team?
Yeah. But there was another man whose name was Kenneth Archibald. He was 57. He confessed to the crimes, but ultimately recanted. And because there was no evidence linking him, he was never charged.
Yeah, that just seems weird. It's like he just wanted some glory.
Well, that's similar to the guy with the John Bonet murder. He was like this 5'6", 97-pound guy, and he's like, "Oh, I did it." No, you didn't. Shut up.
He was just obsessed with the case.
Yeah,
he was
weird. He was like borderline stalker.
Yes.
So
he probably would have did it if she was still alive.
So that's Jack the Stripper. Little homage to Jack the Ripper. And next off, this has to be like the honorable mention to the name Mr. Cruel. And this one goes by the name of Charlie Chopoff.
What a great serial killer name. If you were a serial killer, real quick, what would your newspaper name be?
What would be my moniker?
Yeah.
The Clitoris Cannibal.
I thought you were gonna be serious for a second, and I should have fucking known, dude. I should have fucking known.
The Norwich Necrophiliac.
The Norwich Necrophiliac. Oh, I like that one. You would dig up bodies. You would.
Shut up! No, I wouldn't. That's that. Ugh.
I like that one. The clitoris cannibal.
All right, here's Charlie Chaplin.
All right.
March 9th, 1972, in Harlem, New York, on a rooftop at 222 East 121st Street, lay the body of 8-year-old Douglas Owens in a pool of blood. He'd been stabbed 38 times in the neck, chest, and back, and his shoes had been removed. The young boy's penis had been slashed and almost severed, still attached to the body by a flap of skin. It was a furious attack, and there was some evidence he may have been sexually assaulted. On April 20th, an unnamed 10-year-old boy was sodomized and gutted on a roof 2 miles away. His penis was hacked off and carried away. Amazingly, he survived the attack, and eventually, police found the genitals in a nearby park where a group of children were playing with them. The victim, who'd been running errands at the time, described the man who had attacked him to police, telling them he was in his late 30s, either Hispanic or Italian, and had skin that was neither dark nor fair, but pockmarked. He was thin, may have walked with a limp, and had dark hair. 2 features stood out from the description: a mole on the left side of his face, and unusual black marks on the left side of his chin. The assailant had called himself Michael and lured the boy away with the promise of 50 cents if he followed him. Then on October 23rd, he would strike again, stabbing Wendell Hubbard to death on the roof of his own home at 2013 Fifth Avenue near 125th Street, just blocks away from where Owens had been slain. He was stabbed 17 times in the neck, chest, and abdomen. His penis was severed and carried away. The killer struck again on March 7th, 1973. This time, the victim was 9-year-old Luis Ortiz, who had been on an errand to the corner store to buy milk and bread. Unlike the other victims, he was found in the basement stairwell of 200 West 106th Street, not on a rooftop. But there seemed to be little doubt that he was a victim of the killer, being killed just 1 block away from where the surviving victim was attacked. He was stabbed 38 times, and his penis, again, was missing. The murders and perceived police inactivity of the case led to a public protest by residents, with public meetings held and children making a video to warn others not to talk to strangers. Feelings ran high, and investigators eventually created a new 10-person homicide task force to deal with the slayings, with 50 detectives in total on the case. Local children gave the attacker a macabre moniker, Charlie Chop-Off, and the press ran with it. After being seen loitering in the area, Luis Alberto Gonzalez was questioned at the 7th Precinct Station about the case, fitting the attacker's description. Police ascertained he had nothing to do with the killings, but the suspect's presence led to angry locals surrounding the station and demanding that the suspect be handed over to them. A subsequent murder on August 17th would show more features that were new from the killer. 8-year-old Stephen Cropper was killed on a Lower East Side tenement rooftop, his body being discovered by a woman walking her dog. While the killing taking place on a roof was familiar, this time he wasn't stabbed and was instead slashed repeatedly with a razor. There was no damage to the genitals, yet his body had been posed in a sexually suggestive manner. Once again, his shoes had been removed. Cropper had last been seen by his mother an hour before he left their apartment to play, with the body being found at 5:30 p.m. At the time, witnesses in the area reported seeing a limping man running from the building where Cropper was located, the description tallying with earlier reports in the composite sketch. Yet despite this, police suspected the killing wasn't one of the Charlie Chop-Off series, not only noting the very different nature of the attack, but that it happened in a completely different area of the city. The other killings had all taken place in the Harlem area.
To get in before we talk about the guy who we both think is the actual suspect.
Mm-hmm.
and who is Charlie Chopoff. One of the suspects was Luis Alberto Gonzalez, who walked with a limp, and according to them, the survivors and stuff like that, that was one of the descriptions of him. He was seen loitering in the area around where one of the bodies was found. The press ran with the story and nicknamed him Charlie Chopoff, a suspect, and they actually went to the police station, the locals in that area, and demanded they be turned over to him. Ugh. So, like, that death by mob is probably one of the scariest things ever.
Yeah.
But
imagine if they actually got a hold of him and he wasn't the guy.
No, it's Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
It got so bad that they actually, the police put up barricades, and they quickly stormed the police station. They actually stormed the police station and scaled the roof to try to get this guy.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Wow. All right, so here's the guy that we both think that did it. So his name was Erno Soto. Okay, he was reported as a possible suspect 2 weeks after the first murder, but he was never questioned. A few years prior, Soto's wife had left him, and when he attempted to reconcile with her, he found that she had a child with African-American man, with Soto being Puerto Rican. Even though he presented himself as not being bothered by the fact, privately he was enraged, and his behavior towards African-American became extremely violent. Now, he was institutionalized on and off throughout the murder spree, in, out, in, out, in, out. Now, in May of 1974, Soto attempted to abduct a Puerto Rican boy, and the kid escaped his grasp. And he went running from his, would-be kidnapper, and remembering the highly publicized murders, Soto was quickly surrounded by neighbors and detained until police arrived. Now, he was charged with kidnapping, and he was immediately put under suspicion of being Charlie Chopoff. He was questioned, and he eventually confessed to one of the murders, saying it was God's mission to turn little boys into little girls.
The crazy part about that is because he's nuts, it might have helped him that the police were like, this guy's just crazy. You know what I mean? Look at him, he's been in institution. But it very much well could have been him.
Well, the reason I think it's him is because, obviously he's too crazy to stand trial. So he'll probably never be charged with any of the other crimes. But after he was arrested and institutionalized, call it a coincidence or not, nothing happened after that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Call it what you will.
And at this point, Charlie Chopoff wasn't planning on stopping. He wasn't slowing down at all up until that point. So I feel like it'd be easier to have little younger boy victims. You can entice us with anything and we'll just come hang out. Like look at Gacy. Like I would have been one of those victims. I would have been in his basement. You know what I mean? Hey, you want to come over and watch some porn? Me at 14? Yeah. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I got some beers. You
want a little tiki umbrella in your drink?
Yeah.
And then
yeah, absolutely. Hey,
we're just
try on these
dumb.
handcuffs.
We're just sure. So fuck.
Yeah.
We're just dumb.
We are idiots. Boys don't think things all the way through. So that'll do it for this episode. And before we go, don't forget to become a criminal on our Patreon. Visit patreon.com/criminalaf. There's 5 tiers, and you can donate as little as $2 a month to help the podcast. Now, everyone will receive early release of all of our episodes. Ramirez and above will receive our blooper reels. Kemper and above will receive Patreon-only monthly bonus episodes of True Crime Fast Facts. Bundy and above will receive a quarterly gift, as well as an exclusive I'm a Criminal on Patreon t-shirt.
Get yourself some exclusive merch.
Yes, sir. Now, Zodiac, which is our new tier, they'll get everything from all the other tiers, and they will receive an executive producer credit for every single episode for the length of their membership, as well as a virtual guest spot on a future episode.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah. So much stuff, bro. So much stuff. Now, links to our Patreon, PayPal, socials, merchandise, and more are in the episode description. So, that'll do it for this episode of Criminal AF. Signing off from Studio Chloroform. Keep your head on a swivel. Take care until next time.
See ya.
Listen.
What?
Yo.
Went to the club with my two friends. We got through the door with just two tens. A girl came up and got between us. She had 3 tits and a micro penis. A 4-inch clit, whatever you call it.
What?
I got my ones cause I'll be all for it. Strippers everywhere, we're about to ball out. It's like they got smacked with nuclear fallout. I like freaky and leaky and totally obscene. To get a full dose while I'm yelling Wolverine. I got 2 girls with 1 eye, 3 digits. It would be a perfect night if we only had a midget.
Okay. Well, you can call us brave. We could call us noble for going to the only strip club at Chernobyl. But to be honest, I wiped my money back because I saw my dancer growing a nutsack. She told me not to worry and it was only aesthetic. She told me it was exotic and that it was prosthetic. Her ass started to clap and my Geiger counter sang. I was mesmerized by her nuts, so I ignored it as it rang.
Hello?
Chernobyl girl, you're rocking my world. You're turning me blue like uranium fuel.